Think about it like this. A soldier does not go to battle only when he feels brave. He goes to battle because he has trained his body and mind to function effectively even when he is afraid. A surgeon does not operate only when she feels confident. She operates because she has developed skills and protocols that work regardless of her emotional state. A pilot does not fly only when weather conditions are perfect. He flies because he has systems and procedures that allow him to navigate safely through storms. You need to develop the same approach to resilience. You need to build daily practices that strengthen you regardless of your mood. Physical practices, exercise routines that build mental toughness along with physical strength, nutrition habits that stabilize your energy and focus, sleep schedules that optimize your cognitive function and emotional regulation, mental practices, reading that expands your strategic thinking, meditation that increases your self-control, journaling that helps you process experiences and extract lessons. Social practices, relationships with people who challenge you to grow, networks with individuals who can support your goals, boundaries that protect you from energy vampires and toxic influences, financial practices, budgeting that gives you peace of mind, investments that build long-term security, income streams that reduce your dependence on any single source. When you establish these systems and follow them consistently, something powerful happens. Your strength becomes independent of your circumstances. Your confidence becomes independent of your feelings. Your progress becomes independent of your motivation. You become like a well-built machine that functions optimally regardless of external conditions. But here is the most important part. These systems must be designed around your authentic values and long-term vision, not around impressing others or competing with them. The moment you build systems to prove something to people who do not matter, you give them power over your decisions. The moment you design your life around others' expectations, you become dependent on their approval. The moment you measure your worth by external validation, you surrender your inner strength to forces beyond your control. True Machiavellian strength comes from building systems that serve your authentic mission, regardless of who understands it or approves of it. It comes from developing capabilities that align with your deepest values, not with social trends. It comes from creating a life structure that makes you proud of who you are becoming, not just successful in others' eyes. When you live this way, you become genuinely unbreakable. Not because you are invulnerable to pain, but because pain cannot derail you from your path. Not because you never fail, but because failure cannot define your identity. Not because everyone likes you, but because you do not need everyone to like you to maintain your self-worth. Not because life becomes easy, but because you become strong enough to handle whatever life brings. And here's the beautiful paradox. When you stop needing others to validate your strength, they begin to respect it naturally. When you stop trying to prove you are tough, people begin to see your toughness as obvious. When you stop reacting emotionally to every provocation, people begin to treat you with genuine consideration. When you build unbreakable resilience, you attract relationships and opportunities that match that energy. Strong people want to associate with other strong people. Successful people want to partner with people who can handle pressure. Leaders want to work with people who do not break under stress. Your unbreakable resilience becomes a magnet for the life you actually want to live. Now, let me give you a personal promise that I want you to keep in your heart as a treasure. If you commit to applying these 3 Machiavellian principles consistently for the next 90 days, I promise you will see a transformation so dramatic that people will ask what happened. To you, you will walk with different authority. You will speak with different confidence. You will make decisions from a different perspective. You will handle conflicts with different wisdom. You will attract different people into your life. You will create different results in everything you touch. But more than all this, you will experience the deep satisfaction that comes from knowing you have become the person you always had the potential to be. You will no longer be someone who hopes things will get better. You will be someone who makes things better. You will no longer be someone who reacts to life. You will be someone who creates the life you want. You will no longer be someone who survives challenges. You will be someone who conquers them. The 3 Machiavellian principles are not just strategies for success. They are keys to unlocking the unbreakable version of yourself that has always existed beneath the programming of weakness. Like this video if you are ready to stop being weak and start being unbreakable. Comment, "I choose strength," if you feel your mindset shifting as you listen to these words. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this urgent message about building unbreakable resilience. Subscribe to this channel for more revelations that will continue strengthening your mental and emotional fortitude. Because when you share a message that is transforming your life, you are planting seeds of transformation in others' lives, and those seeds will grow and bear fruit that will benefit future generations. Your season of weakness ended today. Your era of being taken advantage of closed with this message. Your stage of victim mentality transformed into an era of unbreakable resilience. Now go and become the unstoppable force you were always meant to be. Second hidden danger: allowing unforgiveness to create legal entry points for demonic activity in your life and family. This revelation is going to shock you because most people have no idea how dangerous unforgiveness really is in the spiritual realm. You think unforgiveness only affects you emotionally. You believe it just makes you bitter or resentful. You assume it only hurts your relationship with the person who wronged you. But I am about to show you the terrifying spiritual reality of what happens when you refuse to forgive. Unforgiveness is not just an emotional problem. It is a spiritual door that gives demonic forces legal right to operate in your life. Every person you refuse to forgive becomes a bridge that demons use to access areas that should be protected by my blood. Every grudge you hold becomes a fortress where dark spirits establish operations against your destiny. Every bitter root you nurture becomes a poison that attracts spiritual vultures to feast on your peace, your health, your relationships, your finances. This is not symbolic language. This is literal spiritual reality that most believers do not understand. When I taught you to pray, "Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors," I was not just giving you a nice moral principle. I was revealing a spiritual law that governs how my protection operates in your life. Your forgiveness of others is directly connected to my ability to shield you from attacks. Your willingness to release offenses determines how effectively my blood covers your vulnerabilities. Your decision to let go of hurt controls how much spiritual authority you can exercise. Think about it like this. Imagine you live in a fortress with walls designed to protect you from enemy attacks. Every unforgiveness is like leaving a gate open in those walls. The enemy cannot break down the walls because they are built with my blood. But he can walk right through the gates you leave open through your refusal to forgive. That person who hurt you 10 years ago and whom you still resent every time you think about them, that grudge is an active portal for spiritual harassment in your life. That family member who disappointed you and whom you have written off permanently, that bitterness is a legal contract allowing demons to interfere with your relationships. That ex-friend who betrayed you and whom you refuse to pray for, that hatred is a key the enemy uses to unlock attacks against your emotional stability. I know it seems unfair. I know you feel like the victim should not have to forgive the perpetrator. I know it feels like forgiving them means they get away with what they did. But here is what you do not understand. Forgiveness is not about them. It is about you. It is about closing every door the enemy has been using to harass your life. It is about reclaiming the spiritual authority that bitterness has been stealing from you. It is about breaking contracts with darkness that you unknowingly signed through your unforgiveness. When you truly forgive, you are not saying what they did was acceptable. You are saying you refuse to let what they did continue controlling your life. You are not releasing them from consequences. You are releasing yourself from bondage. You are not excusing their behavior. You are choosing your freedom. And the moment you make that choice genuinely, something supernatural happens in the spiritual realm. Demons that have been legally operating in your life through that unforgiveness suddenly lose their legal right to be there. They must flee because they no longer have grounds to remain. Curses that have been following you through bitter roots are suddenly broken. Attacks that have been repetitive suddenly stop. Doors that have been closed suddenly open. Relationships that have been strained suddenly begin to heal. Opportunities that have been blocked suddenly become available. Health that has been declining suddenly improves. Finances that have been stuck suddenly begin to flow. Not because forgiveness is magical, but because forgiveness removes spiritual blockages that have been hindering my blessings in your life. Third hidden danger: engaging in spiritual warfare without proper covering and accountability from mature believers. This is one of the most dangerous mistakes Christians make, and it is destroying lives every day. You think spiritual warfare is a solo activity where you face demons one-on-one like some kind of spiritual superhero. You believe you can take on principalities and powers through individual prayer and personal authority alone? You assume that being a believer automatically qualifies you to engage in high-level spiritual combat without preparation or support. But that is not how spiritual warfare works. That is not how I designed my kingdom to operate. That is not how the early church fought and won their battles. Spiritual warfare is designed to be conducted within the safety of spiritual community, under the covering of mature authority, with the support of intercessory teams. When you try to fight alone, you make yourself vulnerable to counterattacks that can devastate not just you but everyone connected to you. When you engage demons without proper covering, you expose your family to retaliatory strikes. When you attempt deliverance without adequate preparation, you risk spiritual contamination that can take years to clean up. Think about it like military combat. No soldier goes into battle alone, no matter how well trained or well armed he might be. Every soldier operates within a unit, under command structure, with backup support, with communication networks, with emergency extraction protocols. The same principles apply to spiritual warfare. Fourth hidden danger: mixing spiritual warfare with emotional warfare and calling your flesh reactions spiritual discernment. This mistake is destroying the credibility of spiritual warfare in the modern church and giving demons more power than they actually have. You have been taught to label every negative emotion as a spiritual attack. You have been conditioned to blame demons for problems that are actually rooted in unhealed trauma, poor choices, or natural consequences. You have been trained to engage in spiritual warfare when what you really need is emotional healing, practical wisdom, or simple repentance. Not every problem in your life is a demon. Not every difficulty you face is a spiritual attack. Not every person who disagrees with you is influenced by evil spirits. Not every negative emotion you experience comes from the kingdom of darkness. Sometimes you are just hurt and need healing. Sometimes you are just tired and need rest. Sometimes you are just confused and need wisdom. Sometimes you are just wrong and need correction. When you constantly blame spiritual forces for problems that have natural solutions, you actually weaken your ability to discern real spiritual warfare when it occurs. It is like a military radar system that is so sensitive, it identifies birds as enemy aircraft. Eventually, the operators stop trusting the system, and when real enemy planes approach, they assume it is another false alarm. True spiritual discernment requires the ability to distinguish between what is spiritual and what is natural. It requires the wisdom to know when to fight and when to surrender. It requires the maturity to address natural problems with natural solutions and spiritual problems with spiritual weapons. When someone hurts your feelings, your first response should not be to bind demons off them. Your first response should be to examine your own heart and communicate clearly about the issue. When you face financial difficulties, your first action should not be to rebuke poverty, spirits. Your first action should be to evaluate your spending habits and seek practical financial wisdom. When you experience depression, your first assumption should not be that you are under spiritual attack. Your first step should be to examine your lifestyle, seek professional help if needed, and address any underlying causes. This does not mean spiritual warfare is never involved in these areas. It means you must learn to address problems at the appropriate level instead of spiritualizing everything. When you develop this discernment, your spiritual warfare becomes incredibly more effective because you are no longer wasting energy fighting imaginary battles. You can focus your spiritual weapons on real spiritual enemies. You can reserve your authority for situations that actually require divine intervention. You can distinguish between when you need to fight and when you need to surrender to my process of growth in your life. Fifth hidden danger: using spiritual warfare as an escape from personal responsibility and character development. This is the most subtle and destructive mistake of all, and it is keeping millions of believers trapped in cycles of immaturity. You have been taught that every character flaw, every repeated sin, every area of weakness in your life can be solved through spiritual warfare alone. You have been conditioned to believe that casting out demons will automatically change your behavior patterns. You have been programmed to think that breaking curses will instantly transform your character. But spiritual warfare without personal responsibility is powerless. Deliverance without discipleship is temporary. Freedom without maturity is unsustainable. You cannot cast out laziness if you are not willing to develop discipline. You cannot bind spirits of anger if you are not willing to learn emotional regulation. You cannot break generational curses of poverty if you are not willing to develop financial wisdom. You cannot rebuke spirits of lust if you are not willing to guard your eyes and transform your thought patterns. Demons are real, and they do influence human behavior. But they cannot make you do anything you do not already have capacity for in your flesh. They can only amplify tendencies that already exist in your unredeemed nature. They can only exploit weaknesses that you have not yet surrendered to my transforming power. They can only operate through doors that you keep open through unrepented sin or unrenewed thinking. This means that effective spiritual warfare must always be combined with intentional character development. You must fight the external enemy while simultaneously transforming the internal vulnerabilities that give him access. You must bind demons while also disciplining your flesh. You must break curses while also building godly habits. You must command evil spirits to leave while also inviting my Holy Spirit to fill every area they previously occupied. When you understand this balance, your spiritual warfare becomes devastatingly effective. You are not just temporarily pushing back darkness. You are permanently establishing my kingdom in areas where darkness used to reign. You are not just winning battles. You are transforming the battlefield itself so that future battles become unnecessary. You are not just getting free from demonic influence. You are becoming so filled with my presence that demons cannot find any landing place in your life. And here is the most powerful part. When you combine spiritual warfare with character development, you become a weapon in my hands to help others win their battles. Your testimony becomes evidence that victory is possible. Your transformation becomes a roadmap for others to follow. Your character becomes a demonstration of what happens when someone fights correctly in the spiritual realm. Now, let me give you 5 practical strategies to avoid these hidden dangers and fight with maximum effectiveness. First strategy. Before engaging in any spiritual warfare, spend time in worship and prayer to ensure you are operating from my presence, not from emotional reaction. Never fight angry, never fight hurt, never fight afraid, never fight alone. Always fight from a place of rest in my victory, confidence in my authority, and assurance of my love. Second strategy. Always address natural factors before assuming spiritual causes for your problems. Check your health, evaluate your habits, examine your relationships, review your choices. If there are natural contributing factors, address those first. Then, if spiritual warfare is still needed, you will be fighting from a position of wisdom rather than ignorance. Third strategy. Build a network of mature believers who can provide covering, accountability, and support in your spiritual battles. Find a mentor who has experience in deliverance, ministry. Connect with intercessors who can pray for you during intense seasons. Join a small group where you can share struggles and receive prayer support. Never attempt major spiritual warfare without proper covering from mature believers. Fourth strategy. Study my word to understand your authority, the enemy's limitations, and the proper protocols for spiritual warfare. Read about how I conducted spiritual warfare during my earthly ministry. Study how the apostles approached demonic activity in the early church. Learn the principles that govern spiritual authority and how to exercise it properly. Knowledge of my word is your primary weapon against deception and your foundation for effective warfare. Fifth strategy. Always follow up spiritual warfare with practical steps to maintain your freedom and build character in the areas that were under attack. If you break financial curses, develop biblical money management skills. If you cast out spirits of addiction, build healthy lifestyle habits and accountability relationships. If you command healing, follow through with proper medical care and healthy living practices. If you break relationship curses, learn communication skills and conflict resolution principles. Spiritual warfare opens doors, but character development keeps them open. Now I want to make you a promise that will revolutionize your confidence in spiritual battles. If you commit to avoiding these 5 hidden dangers and applying these 5 strategies consistently, I promise you will see a level of spiritual victory you never thought possible. You will walk in authority that makes demons tremble. You will exercise power that breaks generational cycles. You will experience freedom that impacts everyone around you. You will develop discernment that protects you from future attacks. You will build character that sustains your victories long term. But more than all this, you will become a weapon of righteousness in my hands to help others who are trapped in the same cycles of defeat you are breaking free from today. Your victory will not just change your life. It will provide a blueprint for others to follow. It will demonstrate that my power is still available to destroy the works of the enemy. It will prove that ordinary believers can walk in extraordinary authority when they understand how to fight properly. Like this video if you are ready to stop making these dangerous mistakes and start fighting with divine wisdom. Comment "I fight with wisdom" if you feel these revelations shifting your approach to spiritual warfare. Share this message with someone who needs to understand these hidden dangers before they cause more damage in their life. Subscribe to this channel for more teachings that will equip you for victorious spiritual warfare. When you share this message, you are not just spreading information. You are joining me in a mission to train an army of believers who know how to fight effectively against the forces of darkness. You are helping to restore the church to the level of spiritual authority I always intended for my people. You are contributing to the advancement of my kingdom on earth through the defeat of demonic strongholds. I am Jesus, the one who defeated death, hell, and the grave, the one who gave you authority to trample on serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy. The one who promised you that nothing shall by any means hurt you when you operate in proper spiritual authority. Your season of making costly mistakes in spiritual warfare ends today. Your era of fighting with wrong weapons and wrong strategies closes with this message. Your time of being defeated by enemies you should be defeating is finished forever. The 5 hidden dangers have been exposed. The 5 strategies have been revealed. Now go and fight like the spiritual warrior you were created to be. Go and win the battles that will establish my kingdom in every area of your life. Go and demonstrate to the world that my people are not victims, but victors in every spiritual conflict.